Wondering what might be coming next in the Rise of Kingdoms? Well, the developers have just released the latest edition of the Face-to-Face, so we're going to read through some of these upcoming changes and things that the developers are thinking about so that we've got a better idea of what's coming next to Rise of Kingdoms. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, a sponsored content creator for Rise of Kingdoms, and I love knowing what the developers are thinking should change about the game. If you like Rise of Kingdoms guides that help you get value and smash your enemies, hey, consider smashing the subscribe button for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. Let's get started, shall we? First question. I often run into enemies who attack me with many sets of troops at a time. Are they botting? I actually have a lot of people message me saying that there are people botting trying to beat them, and so I don't know how to prove or disprove that, so let's see what the developers say here. Does simultaneously attacking with many troops mean that they must be botting? The developers say that we've investigated many cases of this and found that very experienced governors are capable of coordinating to carry out such attacks. That is very true. That is extremely true. The most experienced players will be on voice with each other, and they will call out specific targets, or they'll have a kill order. Target the E-Song, then target other archers, then target Khan, or whatever that kill order is. Target epic commanders first. Target the Joan of Arc first. So even if they're not in voice chat, there are some things that are intuitive and logical that our players are doing. And if you want to see that unfold, I would argue that our opponents that we were battling against this KVK, that is HKL, the Ark of Osiris Season 2 champions, are way above average at executing exactly that style of attack. I'll have a card up in the top if you want to see where that happens. And occasionally, like, I have marches just, boom, get wrecked out of nowhere, and that's what's happened. That said, I like the next follow-up here, which is, does that mean they're never botting? We have observed the use of certain third-party programs, which can make this kind of coordination easier. If you run into this kind of behavior in-game or have serious doubts, submit the relevant information to customer service and we'll investigate. So cool. So they're saying, yeah, I mean, players can do this without botting. They can focus you down, but in the past 3 months, we've banned a total of 167,000 characters. That is actually a lot. We will always continue to enhance our anti-cheating system to provide governors with the healthiest, most balanced gaming environment possible. At the same time, this has been an issue for so many players. We're looking at the game rules and ways to improve them. We'll notify anyone if we make new decisions. So, I mean, a couple thoughts there. First of all, you may not realize that macros qualify as a form of botting, but they are, so don't do that, or you end up as one of these 167,000 characters that ends up getting banned. But the other thing that I'll add personally, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm kind of tired of seeing that verification system pop up. You know, the one where you gotta like beep, boop, boop, like a robot and tap the images. And I would personally like to see, I don't know, something about either the frequency with which you do it or the fact that I've done some number of them successfully means that I don't have to do as many of them in the future. I mean, I get that that means that that might make it so that some people can bot some amount of the time. I don't know. I guess I'm just saying I'd like to do less verifications. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm glad that bots are being banned. Ban them all. But also, I'd love to do less verifications. You should change the notification method for scout reports. Right now, if I'm getting scouted a lot, I get tons of scouting messages driving battle reports further and further down in my inbox until the system deletes them. It's really inconvenient. Yes, as a player who gets scouted so much that it is, back in the day in KVK Season 2, I got scouted so much it actually kicked me offline and I couldn't log back in for over 30 minutes. I literally had random teleported next to the enemy's pass in KVK Season 2, and I got kicked offline. I was scouted so much for 30 minutes. So card up in the top if you want to see what that was like. Yes, I get scouted a lot and it sucks. I try to favorite every report that I care about as it comes in, and then I can look at them later, but I honestly am not entirely sure why it needs to show up in mail, at least not in the same place where all my other reports go. I don't know. Maybe you should do kind of like how you do with resources, where all of it shows up in one report rather than 50 mails. It would be 50 things in one mail. That would be maybe a way to go, and that mail updates as you get more reports or you get scouted more. Let's go to the next thing here. Oh, by the way, this is, we're currently working on ways to improve the mail system, such as categorized message display. Okay, cool. So I literally just said what they said. Okay. Additionally, we're currently redesigning the gathering report displays to include gathering commander portraits. I really should have read their response instead of just giving my response to the question. Let's try that for the next one. Can we have separate Ark of Osiris chat channels for communicating with our allies? We are currently trying to develop a channel specifically for communication in Ark, but it will be a while before we're ready to implement it. We'll let anyone know about further developments as soon as possible. Yeah, that would be just like in Soroli. You have a separate Soroli chat, so you aren't spamming your alliance. I think that would be super reasonable. Also, alliance chat is kind of working. I mean, it would be nice. It would certainly be nice. I don't think it's critical. And if you're not in voice, like if you're actually trying to play Ark of Osiris and you're typing in the chat, GG and good luck. Try to get your crew in voice chat, in my opinion. But yes, I do think that a separate chat would be nice, but I don't know. As a development priority, feels low to me. Please add a purchase confirmation step to the Heroic Anthem shop. Right now, it's too easy to purchase something by accident. This has to be the most absolutely ludicrous thing that you have this incredibly valuable KVK Season of Conquest currency, and you just like accidentally tap something, especially something expensive, and it spends your coins. That is so savage. I cannot believe how savage that is. Yes, please, 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 confirmation. And they will be adding that. Please, please, please. I am afraid to click that screen for fear of tapping something I don't want. Please. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. I hope a wider variety of items can be recycled in the Alliance shop. The answer, any changes of this sort could have a huge influence on the overall flow of the game. And so while we're considering it, it will proceed with caution. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the game economy. We've seen that items that got added to the shop generally have a relatively low value. What I will say, I think it's too late to do this with the Alliance shop now, but things that I've seen be cool in other games is that you get access to something special and different when you have excess stuff. So when I played, a game way back in the day, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, there was a character, General Grievous, and you could only get him from the equivalent of the Alliance Recycle Shop, where you had to, at least if I'm remembering correctly, that's how it worked. You had to have excess stuff to trade in for this currency, and when you got that currency, you could get the special stuff. So it added kind of an end game thing you could get when you had an overflow of all of the other stuff in the game, the equivalent of all those excess legendary commander sculptures that I'm currently not doing anything cool with. Anyways, I get why they're being cautious. The in-game economy is pretty tricky. And for those of you that have played games like this in the past, I don't know if you ever played Ultima Online back in the day, they had, I think, an economist on staff to figure out and manage the in-game economy for this MMORPG. Because, yeah, you can make changes that throw off the entire economy, and then your in-game systems of value are completely destroyed, and that causes real problems in an MMORPG. Less of an issue here, but anyways, let's go to the next one, because this is the big one. At this time, we would also like to share some other changes we're working on. We're currently testing a new skill lock function, which will enable governors to prevent one or more skills from leveling up until all other skills have reached the maximum level. Many experienced governors make a point of waiting to upgrade a commander's star level until they have maxed out their active skill. Otherwise, skill levels gained will be chosen at random. We don't want to make governors feel punished for upgrading a commander, so we decided to add this skill lock function to let governors choose which skills get leveled up first. To ensure that all governors can make use of this new function, we'll be giving some governors a limited number of skill reset chances. Hallelujah. Hallelujah! Praise be! I mean, this is a thing that we've needed for quite some time. One of the first suggestions I ever made to the developers almost 2 years ago at this point was that it seemed ridiculous to me that you want players to level up commanders. You want players to star up commanders. You want players to skill up commanders. Why would these systems punish you for doing things you want players to do? So I am really happy to see that finally we're addressing this. And it sounds like the way skill lock works is that I would go in for a commander, and this is very true for some commanders where this will be very game-changing for how players invest in them. But for instance, I could go to Guan Yu, and I could lock the second skill. So if I lock the second skill, no points go into it. Now, this is a skill for hitting cities and strongholds. Well, a lot of governors, they just care about open field, right? And I get that while this skill is good for Ark of Osiris, again, people want the skills that are good for open field and hitting cities. All these other skills also help when you hit a city or a stronghold. So this dramatically changes the context of commander investment, because what you can do is you can level up a commander, you can star up a commander, and you don't have to worry now about the skills going into the wrong place. So if you lock this second skill, you could have a 5/1/5/5 Guan Yu guaranteed rather than having to get lucky. Or for instance, what I've often said of Saladin is that you really want to max the first 3 skills before you unlock the 4th skill, which is all about hitting cities. Most players will never use their Saladin to hit a city. I never use my Saladin to hit a city, and I have him expertised. So what I would say about this is that now you could start to potentially level up, star up this commander, lock this skill, and apply the other skill points. And that might seem like, well, Chisgule, it's only the last 4 skill points. Why is that such a big deal? Because the last 4 skill points, okay, cost 75 sculptures, then 75 sculptures, then 80 sculptures, then 80 sculptures. We're talking about 310 sculptures for the last 4 skill ups. So if a skill goes in the wrong place, if you're just chancing it, right, it's a lot of sculptures to make up for that mistake, an astonishing amount. So the ability to lock a skill is absolutely game-changing. Even for garrison commanders, you might say, I want to use Charles Martel, not for defending my city, but in the field, in which case you could lock the 3rd skill, if I'm understanding this correctly, level up the other skills, and the last one is the remaining 310 sculptures, right? So the first 390 sculptures gives you the lion's share of the skill points on the commander. So this, I think, is really quite exceptional. Heck, this even changes the way you might invest in Minamoto, because you can lock this skill over here, and they can now end up in Warlord, which is really good. By the way, I just did a remastered guide for Minamoto, card up in the top if you'd like to see my latest talent builds for that. So really, there are a lot of commanders. I could keep looking at these and pointing to different skills and say what a big deal it is that you can avoid them. Like, heck, Frederick the First, lock the invasion skill over here for city hitting, and you can start to increase the troop capacity. Not that I think Frederick the First is a commander that most players should be using, but, oh, here's a good one. Tamaris. Lock the 2nd skill, lock the 3rd skill, and have everything go into the Arrow of Vengeance and the 4th skill, which is going to make it so you get stacks of poison. That seems really good. Assuming you can lock 2 skills at the same time, assuming I'm understanding this system. The idea here, though, I think is really good. It makes it much easier for players to invest in commanders, both in terms of getting value for less sculptures and potentially even spending less sculptures on commanders on the whole to get a more powerful commander, which is really good. And new players don't get wrecked as much, which is maybe the biggest victory in all of that. There is one last thing here, which is really important, and it is that they are going to try to add more free attempts to certain events so everyone can have more chances to enjoy every kind of event. Now, if that means more rewards for players that are active in the game, doing free-to-play sorts of stuff, for instance, let me give an example. If you go and you battle, and you take down a keep, and you can do this every 3 days or so, a Bloodfist Barga is going to give you some rewards. Those rewards are pretty good. So good that they actually limit how often you can get them. I got another 18-hour cooldown here. But if I get a look at the Barbarian Stronghold, right, I take down a Barb Fort, I can get an epic chest, a random epic chest every 3 days. That's kind of a big deal, right? Like every month I'm pulling down an extra 3 or so legendary materials, which adds up over time. I get that over the course of a year, that's still like a fraction or a partial completion of one legendary item, but still, it's nice. So if there are some things that we could do maybe more frequently or get more rewards from, I think that's really awesome. I think there's maybe a little bit of concern with some things becoming a chore. So for instance, Ceroli, you used to have to do each boss 3 times to get the maximum rewards. Now you have to do each boss only once. I actually think that's a nice change for an event that is going to show up very regularly. But I will never complain if what we're doing is adding rewards rather than taking the same amount of rewards and spreading them out over more attempts to have to get them. I'm pretty happy with what's been shared here in the face-to-face with the developers part 4, but I'd be curious to hear what sorts of things that you would like to see the developers talk about or work on in the future. I personally think I'll get a lot of really good use of the skill lock function on my restart project and on my farm account, where like, yeah, I work on legendary commanders there too. But let me know down below in the comments which commanders you think are most impacted by this, and which change you think is most important from this list. If there's something else I didn't see here that you think is super critical, let me know. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.